He says, the strong is not the one who overcomes the people by his strength, but the strong is the one who controls himself while in anger. And the reason I picked this to start with is because the feeling we feel when we hear all these news of injustice and harm and things going around the world is anger. And it's not a feeling that's unique and exclusive to Muslims by any means. Everyone feels it. They feel it for other causes and they feel it for other issues. And sometimes when the anger gets the better of them, they take things forward, only making the situation far worse. So when you get provoked, and when you feel you're getting angry, and you think that you might have the strength to maybe fight it, remember it takes even more strength to control that anger. And to this effect, a prophet, a companion, a person comes to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says, "Advise me." And the Prophet said, "Do not get angry." And the man again asked him, "Okay, advise me." And again the Prophet said, "Do not get angry." And he kept asking, and the Prophet kept giving the same reply: "Do not get angry, do not get angry, do not get angry." Sahih Bukhari Hadith 6116. And the Prophet himself faced several situations where he could have, or he had the right to get angry. Where if we put ourselves in his position, we can only imagine how we would have acted. A man came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he pulled his cloak so violently that it left a mark on his neck. And he said, "Oh Muhammad, give me some of the wealth that is with you." At that time the Prophet was distributing perhaps some charity to people. So he comes in and he just pulls off the cloak that the Prophet was wearing and it left a rash. But the Prophet turned to him. He smiled and ordered that he be given something, and he left it at that. A name perhaps you're familiar with, or you may not know, Uqba ibn Abi Muayyad. Uqba was one of the biggest abusers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The torture Uqba rained on him and the evil words he spoke about him in Sahih Bukhari, Hadith 240. Abdullah ibn Masud reports, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and imagine this, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying near the Kaaba. A group of Quraysh was sitting nearby. And when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went into sajda in front of the Kaaba, Uqba ibn al-Muayyad, he grabbed perhaps a bucket of the gut and intestines and leftover of a camel. And as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in sajda, he poured all of it on him. And the acid from those remains started burning the Prophet's skin. And the Prophet remained in sajda. And the Prophet's daughter Fatima, she saw this and she came running and she started crying and she started removing the guts from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she started cursing the Quraysh. And when she did that, the Prophet got up. He didn't interrupt his prayer. He raised his hands and he says, "Oh Allah, deal with the Quraysh." This wasn't the only time Uqba did something like this. Another incident, again when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was praying near the Kaaba. Uqba, he came to the Prophet and he wrapped a cloak around his neck and started strangling him. And people started watching, but Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he was the first one to rush towards the Prophet and push Uqba away. And he quoted a verse from the Quran: "Do you kill a man only because he says, 'My Lord is God'?" And it's the same verse which a man told the Firaun from the Firaun's court when the Firaun was saying, "We will kill Musa." And this man, he was a secret believer. So he told the Firaun, Would you only kill him because he says, my Lord is God? Is that any reason to hurt someone, to harm someone? Has he asked for any of your wealth? Has he asked for any of your resources? Has he accumulated something? What are you mad about? This went on, by the way, the persecution of Muslims and the abuse Prophet Muhammad ﷺ encountered. This went out throughout his years in Mecca. This went out when the Muslims were boycotted and outcasted. In a very difficult year when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he lost his wife, Khadija, radiallahu anha, who she gave everything for the mission. The mother of our believers. She passed. And then the Prophet's uncle passed, Abu Talib, and then he lost all protection. So then Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he goes to Taif where he has a few other relatives. He goes to Taif, he consults with his relatives over there seeking protection from the Quraysh, that maybe they are my uncles, they're the cousins of my grandparents and my uncles, maybe they can help me. And they didn't. Not only did they not help him, they mocked him. And when the Prophet was leaving, they told the street children that to start pelting stones and rocks at Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And the Prophet was running and he was being pelted by children to the point where his sandals were filled with blood. And he was completely dehydrated, and he came and he found a piece of rock to sit on. He sat over there. And in that stage, Angel Jibreel comes to him. And he brings with him the angel of the mountains. Jibreel says that Muhammad gives the word, and this angel, he will level Taif between the two rocks, between the two mountains. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, no. I hope that Allah will bring forth from their descendants people who will worship Allah alone without associating partners with Him. Imagine having that kind of power, that kind of control, that opportunity to do something like this. To do something like this towards someone who is an enemy towards you, and towards someone far worse is an enemy towards God. And then still acting upon a path of mercy. This is the example of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This is his sunnah. This is who we need to aspire to be like. During the Battle of Uhud, now we are going a few years ahead, because finally the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he didn't find protection in Taif. He ended up finding protection in Medina, Yathrib, that's what it was called back then. And he signed a treaty in the valley of Aqaba where the people of Medina would accept him, and they would give him the status and position of a prophet, and they would accept the immigrants coming in from Mecca. And on entering the city, the Prophet said that now you have to embrace your brothers. Everyone has to share their resources. The concept of akhuwat, where people who have will share with people who do not have. And when the Quraysh realized that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he's now getting favors and supports of cities, they waged war, openly declared it. And they openly declared that anyone who even associates themselves with Muhammad, so other tribes, even if they do want to listen to him, they will then be at a war with the Quraysh. And the first war that we all know about, the Battle of Badr, before the war, the Quraysh, they had this huge gathering in Mecca. And they called everyone and they had a huge prayer, and they said in that prayer that whoever wins the battle is definitely on the right path, and we know we will win. And they made an open declaration with their confidence in their numbers and in their strengths. And we all know the outcome of that war is that they lost. And because in their overconfidence they made this declaration, and the entire region heard about it, they started showing more and more support towards Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his mission. saying that, yeah, there was a prayer held at the Kaaba, saying that the winner is the one on whom God, Allah, favors. The winner was Prophet Muhammad.